Europe, at the close of the 18th century, was a continent exhausted by war yet unable to escape it. For 6 long years, revolutionary France had fought monarchies old and powerful, tearing apart the established order of Europe with mass armies, radical ideals, and relentless ambition. Kingdoms had fallen. Coalitions had broken. And from this furnace of violence, one figure had risen higher than all others, young, brilliant, and dangerously popular. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte. France's armies had triumphed across Italy, humiliating Austria and spreading the influence of the revolution far beyond its borders. But while French soldiers dominated the land, the seas told a different story. There, Britain ruled unchallenged. Its navy, hardened by decades of conflict, controlled the world's trade routes, fed its factories, financed its wars, and ensured that the island nation could never be starved into submission. As long as Britain commanded the oceans, France could not deliver the final blow. In Paris, the ruling government, the Directory, watched Napoleon with a mixture of admiration and fear. He was only 28 years old, yet he commanded the loyalty of veterans, the admiration of the public, and the attention of Europe. France had crowned no king, but it had created a hero, and heroes were dangerous to republics. The solution they devised was elegant, ambitious, and deeply cynical: send Napoleon far away. Give him glory. Give him danger. And, above all, remove him from the capital. The destination was Egypt. To educated Europeans, Egypt was not merely a province of the Ottoman Empire. It was a land of legend, of pyramids and pharaohs, of Alexander the Great and forgotten civilizations buried beneath the sand. Strategically, it was priceless. Egypt lay astride Britain's trade routes to India, the artery through which flowed the wealth that sustained the British Empire. If France could control Egypt, it could threaten Britain where it hurt most, without ever landing a soldier on British soil. Napoleon embraced the plan with enthusiasm bordering on obsession. He imagined himself not as a mere general, but as a conqueror of antiquity reborn. Like Alexander, he would march east. Like Caesar, he would carve his name into history. Europe is a molehill, he declared. All great glory comes from the Orient. In May 1798, the greatest expedition France had ever launched set sail from Toulon. More than 300 ships cut through the Mediterranean, carrying 55,000 soldiers, sailors, and specialists. 13 mighty ships of the line guarded the convoy, their gun decks bristling with cannon. Aboard the massive flagship Lorient sailed Napoleon himself, surrounded by his generals, men hardened by years of war, and an unusual collection of civilians. They were scientists, engineers, artists, linguists, and scholars. Astronomers and botanists. Architects and antiquarians. Known collectively as the savants, they were charged not with conquest, but with understanding. Napoleon did not intend merely to seize Egypt. He intended to study it, catalogue it, and claim its past as part of France's future. As the French fleet slipped eastward, it did so under a veil of secrecy. Even many of its officers did not know their final destination. But secrecy at sea is fragile, and Britain's greatest naval commander was already on the hunt. Rear Admiral Horatio Nelson, relentless and aggressive, knew only that a large French fleet had vanished from Toulon. He prowled the Mediterranean, searching for it like a predator, desperate to bring it to battle. Fate intervened. Storms scattered Nelson's squadron, delaying his pursuit. Fog and darkness concealed the French. On one night in June, the two fleets passed within miles of each other, close enough that history itself seemed to hold its breath, yet neither knew the other was there. Hours later, Nelson would sail away, convinced he had arrived too late. The French would sail on, spared by chance. Their first target was Malta. The island, ruled by the ancient Knights of St. John, had once defied the Ottoman Empire itself. But centuries had eroded its strength. Divided leadership, local resentment, and outdated defenses doomed it. When Napoleon demanded entry, the Knights hesitated. Within 2 days, they surrendered. Napoleon wasted no time. He abolished feudal privileges, reformed administration, seized vast sums of money, and stripped the island of supplies. Schools were founded. Slavery was outlawed. Malta became French in everything but name. Leaving behind a garrison, Napoleon sailed on, toward Egypt, and toward destiny. In late June, the coast of Alexandria appeared on the horizon. Napoleon knew Nelson could still strike at any moment. Speed was essential. Under cover of darkness, French troops stormed the shore. Alexandria fell quickly, its ancient walls no match for modern artillery. Yet victory brought disappointment. The legendary city of Alexander the Great was no jewel of the ancient world, it was a decaying town of rubble and dust, scarred by earthquakes and neglect. There would be no rest. Barely had the last soldiers landed when Napoleon ordered an immediate march inland, toward Cairo. It was a fatal miscalculation. The Egyptian summer descended upon the French like a living enemy. The sun burned without mercy. The desert stretched endlessly. Water vanished. Men collapsed by the roadside, delirious with thirst. Some drank from stagnant pools and died soon after. Others, driven beyond endurance, ended their own lives. Bedouin horsemen shadowed the column, striking at stragglers, killing without mercy. Even Napoleon's closest companions questioned his judgment. But the general pressed on, driven by urgency, ambition, and pride. After 4 days of suffering, the army reached Damanhur, where water and rest saved it from collapse. And there, news arrived. The Mamluks were coming. Egypt, though nominally Ottoman, was ruled in practice by Mamluk warlords, elite cavalrymen descended from slave soldiers, now masters of the land. 2 men dominated them, Murad Bey and Ibrahim Bey. Their rule was brutal, extractive, and deeply resented by the peasantry. Napoleon believed he could exploit that resentment, presenting himself as a liberator. To the Egyptians, he proclaimed respect for Islam, the Prophet, and the Quran. But words would soon be tested by steel. At Shubrakit, on the banks of the Nile, the two worlds met. Thousands of Mamluk horsemen appeared, resplendent in silk and gold, their weapons ornate, their confidence absolute. Murad Bey boasted that he would slice French heads like watermelons. Napoleon responded not with bravado, but with geometry. His infantry formed massive hollow squares, bristling with bayonets and cannon at every corner. When the Mamluks charged, they met a wall of disciplined fire. Horses screamed. Riders fell. Charge after charge shattered against French musketry. After 2 hours, the Mamluks withdrew, stunned and blooded. The French had lost almost nothing. Morale soared. But the true test awaited near Cairo. On the afternoon of July 21, 1798, Napoleon's army approached the village of Imbaba. Beyond it lay Cairo. And to the south, rising from the haze, stood the pyramids, ancient, silent witnesses to yet another struggle for Egypt. Here, Murad Bey made his stand. Napoleon deployed 25,000 men into 5 colossal squares, advancing methodically across the scorching plain. The Mamluk cavalry charged with ferocity, but again and again they were repelled, annihilated by fire they could neither evade nor overcome. When French infantry stormed Imbaba itself, the battle became a slaughter. Many defenders fled into the Nile and drowned beneath the weight of their armor. Within 2 hours, the battle was over. Napoleon named it the Battle of the Pyramids, though they stood miles away. The name did not matter. The legend did. Cairo fell days later. Napoleon stood at the height of his power, master of Egypt, conqueror of an ancient land. His dream seemed fulfilled. Then, the sea took it all away.